is Fantasy Football Today from CBS Sports.
Here we go!
Email us at fantasyfootball@cbsi.com.
Here we go!
We're here to help you win the ultimate bragging rights, a fantasy title.
Let's go!
Now, here's Adam, Dave, Jamie, and Heath.
Yeah, we know it's early, but let's talk about training camp. We've got risers and fallers on today's show. Should you be excited about Sammy Coates? Worried about Josh Doxson? Also, some PPR versus standard comparison, just how much more valuable are wide receivers compared to running backs. And also, where is Heath Cummings going on his mini vacation he's about to take? Let's find out. Heath Cummings, where are you going on this mini vacation you're about to take?
To the ocean. I'm going to toil around in the ocean for the next 4 days. Stopping in the Bahamas a couple times. I'm going to swim with dolphins.
Oh, that's awesome.
And
I've actually done that, believe it or
Dave just sweated with dolphins about a day ago.
I sweated with dolphins. But yes, I have actually done the swimming with dolphins thing that you're going to do, and it's a lot of fun.
Oh, good.
Good family activity. You're going on a cruise.
Yes, going on a cruise.
All right, that's awesome.
And not the Victor kind.
My first cruise ever.
Oh, your first one.
Speaking of cruises, and this doesn't have anything to do with football, but you know in the Olympics they are having all these problems with the housing and everything?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard where the basketball teams are staying? They just got a luxury cruise boat to park in Rio, and they are just staying on the luxury cruise boat.
A lot of the NFL owners did that at the owners meeting back in March.
They pulled their boats up to the dock.
Jim Irsay was one for sure, and I think there was a couple of others as well, because staying at one of the nicest hotels in South Florida was not good enough.
No, they had to show off their boats.
Yeah.
Where does Irsay keep his boat in Indianapolis?
I'm going to guess he doesn't.
I think we should, let's focus it in here.
Okay.
With our email of the day, fantasyfootball@cbsi.com. It's from Chris. And Chris says, "What's up, Mike, Will, Lucas, and Dustin?" And those are characters from Stranger Things, which everybody's obsessed with, so I can't wait to watch it.
Including you.
I haven't seen it. Chris Towers is
But you're obsessed with it. Second day in a row that you're like, ooh, Stranger Things.
I know.
You know what I think? I think Adam has like secret endorsement deals
With
with
Stranger
things that he doesn't tell us about.
Oh, no.
And so like he's obligated to say certain things on there.
And he's pocketing the money from these things?
He's not telling us.
And he's not, yeah.
Like
So
he just brings up random things like just out of nowhere. And
That's
it
not
repeats
cool.
them.
That's not cool,
That
Adam.
cartoon that you referenced?
Yeah.
Oh,
Now,
strong
let me tell you something. As I sit here thinking about having my delicious Giordano's pizza for dinner tonight, because Giordano's is the finest Chicago pizzeria, I think you might be holding out on us, and I don't like it.
Well, I'm sorry. I promise you I'm not. I would love to get an endorsement from the Teen Girl Squad or from Strong Bad. Now, here's the email. We're calling out Heath here since he's going on vacation. Heath.
Good.
Why are you so low on Ezekiel Elliott in general, but more specifically in PPR? I see Ezekiel Elliott hauling in 50 passers or so. Darren McFadden caught 40 and started 11 games. What do you think? Why are you, Heath Cummings, why do you hate, this is me paraphrasing, hate Ezekiel Elliott to the core?
Well, I think it's interesting that I have him in standard leagues, I think, as my number 6 running back, and in PPR at like number 9. I don't have him anywhere lower than a mid-second round pick, and he's a rookie running back, and that means that I hate him.
You hate him.
I don't hate him. I'm very excited about him. I think that the idea that he's going to come in as a rookie and be the best running back in fantasy football, or even top 3, is maybe a little bit... I don't know. Are we just getting a little bit overexcited by the new shiny thing?
It's been so long since we've had a new shiny thing.
I don't look at it as, I probably have him the highest. I don't know.
I think you do.
I don't look at it as a new shiny thing. I look at it as an old shiny thing. That offensive line is tried and true. And that's
true.
That's the reason I have him ranked where I do.
I think if I was going to project how many passes Ezekiel Elliott's going to catch, I would guess 35 to 40 more so than 50. But most of the guys that I moved, that I have, like I have him one spot ahead of David Johnson in standard, and I have David Johnson ahead of him in PPR. I think David Johnson is a 50 catch guy.
Yes. But you say 35 for Elliott?
35 to 40.
35 to 40 would be a better pass catcher than Peterson, would be a better pass catcher than Gurley, at least based on what Peterson did last year in Norv Turner's offense, and probably what Gurley will do this year. I think 15 catches on top of what he did last year is safe for Gurley. So
yeah, I think I wouldn't be like I'd probably put Gurley in the same spot. I think that he will probably catch more passes this year, but 35 to 40. What did he have last year?
Gurley 21.
21 in 12 games.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So that's 25 in 26, 27 in 16 games. I don't.
Yeah, I would say,
but I think it'll
I've been
be a
saying
little
it for a
higher.
couple weeks. I think him and Peterson about the same. They're going to be around 30
30,
catches.
right.
I would take the over for Elliott, but it's close.
Well, it's interesting that you guys bring up the catches and Adrian Peterson and guys like that, because I looked at standard versus PPR. I wanted to spend a little bit of time on this today as we are doing our quarterback preview tomorrow. So, standard versus PPR, 2015, last year was just a bad year for running backs. Didn't matter the format, but I'm pretty sure Danny Woodhead was the number 3 running back. I think it went Freeman, Peterson, Woodhead in PPR.
Yes.
But in 2013 and 14, in PPR leagues, the top 3 running backs in 2013 caught at least 50 passes, at least 52 passes. And the top 3 running backs in PPR leagues in 2014 caught at least 57 passes. Number 4 both years was Marshawn Lynch. So that's the kind of the year you have to have. Yeah, you have to score a lot of touchdowns, rush for a lot of yards, and even then it might be difficult to be a top 3 running back. Just to put Ezekiel Elliott in perspective, if you think he's going to be top 3 or so in PPR, kind of history says it might be difficult for him to do.
Well, of course. I mean, there's never been a rookie to do that. So there's several things working against him, but you're comparing him to the field, and the field is not great. It's an ugly looking situation right now. So you're hoping somebody like David Johnson, who was in the 30s last year in receptions, you're hoping he takes the leap. Like he said, I think 50 is within reach, but you never know. You're hoping that Lamar Miller, who last year had a career high in receptions, is this where maybe the Texans keep him off the field a little bit? I don't think he's going to be under 40, but is he going to take that leap to get to the 50-plus range? It's realistic, but I don't know. Peterson, Gurley, these guys aren't looking like 50-catch guys. I don't think Elliott is either. So you're either saying, okay, does Dion Lewis play 16 games, and does he get into that top 3? Does Woodhead do what he did exactly last year and score as many touchdowns, stay up there? Does Freeman continue to play at that level? Does Charles get back there? Their guys are going to be there. It's just a matter of who you like the best.
Okay, I think I would like to further call out Heath, because you have Ezekiel Elliott 11th in your PPR rankings at running back, and you've got Doug Martin ahead of him. I don't think Doug Martin's going to have a big pass-catching year to you. He caught 33 passes last year. You've got a lot. I mean, you got 10 guys ahead of Ezekiel Elliott. Don't forget, Todd Gurley played 12 games last year, and at least in standard, he was the number 5 running back. And that was in 12 games. So I don't know. That seems a little low, Heath. A little low on Elliott.
Okay.
Okay.
I
got
don't
that off our chest.
Yeah, I mean, I think he could finish 6th or 7th in PPR, and he could finish 13th. I mean, I could see LaShawn McCoy and Eddie Lacy being better than him too. Devontae Freeman is a guy that's right there with him. Jamie said it. There, with all these guys, there's certain risk factors. Some of them, it's like Le'Veon Bell. We know he's missing 4 games. Some of them, Mark Ingram, it's injuries. Ezekiel Elliott, it's that he's a rookie, and we've not seen him do it yet.
I guess just to play devil's advocate, would it shock you if McFadden's in that role?
Would shock me?
McFadden could easily be their passing downs guy.
It wouldn't shock me if another running back in that offense catches 30 passes. No.
And if that happens, that means Ezekiel Elliott isn't as elite as everybody kind of thinks, and he's just not as effective as your typical top 5 shoe-in running back, which means he's not going to be as good. He's not going to be worth that first-round pick.
I don't know if I agree with that 100%.
If they're minimalizing his role in any way, for a guy with this much build-up.
Just to go back to what they did 2 years ago, because last year I think you got to throw a lot of things out. DeMarco Murray had 390-something carries in the regular season, and still 52 catches.
Right.
So he could still have 300 carries, Elliott, and be a monster, and be 25 catches, which I don't think would be a shock if he's on the field for that much, and not have the 50 catches that Murray had.
Could it be a situation then where it's somewhere in between, where they just don't want to overload him? And so Ezekiel, sure, they're confident that he could work in any situation, but let's not give the rookie too much too soon. And it's week 1, he'll start, and then Darren McFadden will supplant him and maybe have specific roles in the offense until Elliott comes along, and that could be what caps the reception total for him over the course of the year.
I don't know how good he is in pass protection, but for a quarterback that's had a back problem and 2 broken collarbones, if he can't play on passing downs and block,
he won't be on the
field in passing down situations. Now, they're still going to throw in running down situations, which is where I think his 25 to 40 catches will come. But, I mean, look, this is a guy that had 50 5 catches in college in his last 2 years, 28 and 27 receptions.
Cool. Now, I got another email. I shortened it, so email of the day 1.5. Not exactly the email of the day, but it inspired me to ask you this. Who would you rather draft in a keeper league? I had a tough time answering this one. Allen Robinson or Mike Evans?
Evans for me.
How come?
I just think that he has a better situation, given that there's not other mouths to feed in this offense at the same level. You have a struggling tight end situation. You have an aging second wide receiver. They just locked up Hearns. They like Rashad Green. They're still going to give Marquise Lee some opportunities. They still like Julius Thomas. And I think coaching in scheme, if everybody stays for another couple of years, Gus Bradley's not going to be a open up the offense, let everything go. Dirk Cutter definitely will.
Yeah, I think I'd probably go Evans, but they are really,
It's very
really
close. Yeah, it's very close.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
I almost want to go Robinson just because he's shown us lately.
Right.
You know, with Mike Evans, what's the dilemma? It's the whole last year he sucked thing, and he only scored 3 touchdowns. And yes, he had over 1,200 yards and a bunch of catches, but he definitely disappointed people who took him last year. We're overlooking that. And if you overlook it, then I think you're right, Jamie, that just the better situation is there for Evans. But you got to love what Allen Robinson did. I don't know when Jacksonville will turn things around, but, and you also said this, Gus Bradley is on his last legs. If the Jaguars don't make the playoffs this year, there's going to be a change there. Doesn't mean that they're going to be run-based going forward and defensive-minded, and another guy like Gus Bradley coming in where his focus isn't going to be on throwing the ball everywhere. I would imagine the next offensive coordinator for this team would want to throw the ball everywhere because he's got Blake Bortles and those wide receivers. For me, it's Robinson, but as everybody else has said, very, very close, very, very difficult as well.
So we got some news items to get to, including one on Austin Seferian-Jenkins. He's going to be in our Faller section of the training camp storyline so far. Just a couple of big news items. Sammy Watkins could return to practice on Monday, according to the Buffalo News. And Gary Barnidge should be ready for week 1. He had off-season surgery for a sports hernia. As far as Watkins goes, are you guys encouraged? Are you moving him up in your rankings, feeling good about Sammy Watkins right now?
I'm encouraged, but I want to see it first.
Yeah, he gets through a week of practice, and he will definitely go up in my rankings.
100%.
Okay. And up to like top 12 we're talking here for Watkins?
I looked at it today. I'd put him at 14 ahead of Hilton.
Something to keep in mind if you're drafting this weekend for whatever reason you're in a league that's doing that. But yeah, I would put him in that same range.
I'll give you. I'll tell you right now, and I'm sure there are probably people that I'm drafting against that are listening to this because we get questions from them. So, Adam, you're doing the flex draft in 2 weeks, right?
Yes.
So I'm doing the flex draft this coming weekend, and I'm picking 5th. I'm almost certainly going to end up to PPR draft, so I'm most likely going to take AJ Green at 5, and then coming back in round 2, I'm probably going to be looking at receiver, and I'm thinking ahead to round 3. And that's going to be where Watkins will be sitting. And so it could be a steal in the 3rd round at that spot, or it could be a very bad pick if his foot is a problem.
How many wide receivers do you have to start, 2 or 3?
3.
Oh.
It's a full PPR. You start 3 receivers. Heath will love it because there's no kicker or defense.
Yeah.
There may be defense, but definitely no kicker. Jake
Defense.
Seeley is the guy who runs it, and Jake is in Heath's boat, no pun intended, without a requirement to use a kicker.
Man, that's a great idea. We should get somebody next year to sponsor a fantasy football cruise where you draft on the cruise.
Ooh.
I actually drafted on a naval destroyer. I set up a league for my brother-in-law at the time was in the Navy, and him and 11 of his buddies, and they were parked here in Fort Lauderdale. And as a thank you to for their service, we drafted on the boat. It was so awesome, awesome.
that is
I mean,
cool.
I happened to be lucky enough to spend 2 days on this destroyer. But just as a thank you to our service people, we did that, and I got so many responses from people who play on our site and other sites, and I wish we could do it again because it's a good way to thank the people who serve us, but serve our country. But yeah, it would be fun. Maybe on Gronk's next booze cruise, we can.
Yes, we'll draft on
party
Gronk's
cruise. Excuse me, party cruise.
So, Heath, we're doing our quarterback preview tomorrow. You're not going to be here for it. You're going to be sailing away. Is there anything you would like to say about quarterbacks? Just one big thing that you want to say about quarterbacks right now?
Well, I went like 6 or 7 mock drafts where I didn't take a quarterback before the 12th round, I think. Maybe the 10th or 11th round. And that's pretty much always my strategy. But if you've been watching as Jamie and Dave have posted these mock drafts, the last 2 drafts we've had, I've taken a quarterback in the first 4 rounds because Cam Newton and Aaron Rodgers have fallen that far in our drafts.
And did you like your team?
I was uncomfortable. I liked my second one a lot better than I liked my first one, but it was a 10 team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, everybody likes teams in the 10.
So there's something I do want to definitely say about quarterbacks when we get to the risers and fallers from camp, but I'm going to save it for that. I guess my point is I talk a lot about wait for quarterback, wait for quarterback, wait for quarterback. If you get into a league full of guys like that and Cam Newton or Aaron Rodgers is there at the 3-4 turn, take them and be happy.
Okay, that's a good piece of advice. Standard versus PPR. For whatever reason, I was inspired to look at the top 30 finishers, non-quarterbacks in standard versus PPR over the last 3 years. I'll tell you the trends. You tell me if you make anything of it. So 2013 and 2014, 15 of the top 30 players were running backs. And the top 5 were running backs in 2013, and the top 3 were running backs in 2014. So half of the top 30 were running backs, again, non-quarterbacks. 14 wide receivers in 2013 and 1 tight end, and 13 wide receivers and 2 tight ends. Pretty similar stuff. Last year, even in standard scoring leagues, 5 of the top 6 players were wide receivers, again, non-quarterbacks. There were 11 running backs, down from 15 the previous 2 years in the top 30. There were 16 wide receivers, up from 14 and 13, and there were 3 tight ends. When I just look at that in standard scoring leagues, I wonder if 2016 is more likely to play out like 2013 and 2014 with more balance between running backs and wide receivers. And we've said this a ton, but we have new listeners every day. Last year was a terrible year for running backs. Maybe people could be overreacting to that on draft day. What do you guys think?
I agree.
Totally
100%.
Yeah. Totally agree. It doesn't necessarily change where you have to draft receiver versus running back, but don't shy away from running backs in the first couple of rounds because of what happened last year. That's just silly.
But your experience last year could shape your draft philosophy this year. And last year, if you took a running back in round 1 not named Adrian Peterson, you were disappointed.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and it does.
And that might make you say, you know what, forget these running backs. I'm going to go 0 RB or at least take a receiver in the first round. You can obviously get away with it and build a team just fine. But I'm not ready to just throw out all those running backs like that without looking at the position and realizing, and I've been saying it since the start of the offseason, it is thin when you're looking for a starting running back with 20-touch potential who will work the goal line. There aren't a lot of them.
Well,
there aren't. There's just not.
Yeah, but I agree with you. But the ones that you're still able to get 3rd, 4th, 5th round.
I don't think there are that many there in 4th.
No,
maybe in the 3rd.
They're risky, but you can still get them. You're seeing CJ Anderson in the 3rd round. He's risky. You're seeing Jeremy Hill in the 4th round. He's risky. Carlos Hyde is in the 4th round. He's risky.
Mm-hmm.
DeMarco Murray. There's another one. There are a number of guys you could say that the risk is probably greater than the ones going in the first 2 rounds.
Yeah.
But if they hit, that paired with 2 stud receivers makes your team exceptional.
Doesn't mean I don't have to go running back.
Oh, no, it's obviously a matter of personal choice. And like you said, people that were burned last year are going to shy away from it.
Right.
But at the same time, this is where I think if you get those 2 stud receivers early for people, it's and the labeling 0 RB to me is stupid. It's if you just go receiver with your first 2 picks. And then you just go running back. Mm-hmm. However you want to do it. Throw in a quarterback in there, throw in a tight end in there, maybe a 3rd receiver. But just start stockpiling those backs, and you end up with Woodhead, who could be better than Gordon, or Gordon, who could be a bounce-back candidate. Or it's pairing Murray and Henry. Or it's maybe just waiting and getting, as your 3rd guy, Rashad Jennings, who's a guy we're going to discuss. But, just getting that group of guys as opposed to, okay, now I need to take a receiver, and I'm hoping Michael Floyd does this, or I'm hoping Devontae Parker or Dante Moncrief or anybody who had Tyler Lockett, whoever we like, does that. I think it's just safer to get those receivers somewhat earlier in the right spot and then sort of throw your darts against the wall with those backs.
All right, so just to summarize, if we consider 2015 to be an outlier, then you look at 2013 and 2014, and the running backs were either the top 5 or the top 3 in scoring, and there were 15 running backs in the top 30, and 14 or 13 wide receivers, and then Gronkowski. Basically how 2013 and 14 went. Although one of those years might have been Graham with an injured Gronk. I don't remember.
That was 12.
12, okay. So this is Gronk. In 2013 in PPR leagues, the top 3 scorers were... Oh, no, I'm sorry. The top 3 running backs, I already went over this. The top 3 running backs all caught at least 52 passes. The number 4 running back was the 16th overall player in PPR leagues, non-quarterback again. So it was 10 running backs, 18 wide receivers, and 2 tight ends, followed by 8 running backs, 17 wide receivers, and 5 tight ends. And then last year, only 6 running backs in the top 30, 19 wide receivers, and 5 tight ends. The fact that 5 tight ends have finished in the top 30 in scoring 2 straight years is kind of interesting.
The names been the same. Gronk and Olsen and who else?
Well, Reed last year, but not in 2014.
I think Antonio Gates, Vernon Davis.
I'm sure Eifert
maybe?
was last year with all his touchdowns.
Yeah,
But that's 2014. Barnes was last year too. But it's a matter of with the carryover, like which because you can't point to it. And never mind. We got an email about Gronk and why are we taking Gronk so early? This is why you take Gronk early because he will finish there. You don't know who the other guys will be.
Yeah, I'll tell you the tight ends that finished in the top 30 last year: Gronkowski, Jordan Reed, Delaney Walker, Gary Barnidge, and Greg Olsen.
In that order? In PPR?
I think so, yeah.
In
Gronk,
PPR.
Reed, Walker, Barnidge, Olsen.
Right,
Yeah.
because Walker catches a ton of passes.
All right, guys. Let's talk about risers and fallers from training camp so far. Oh, Rashad Jennings was the first one. I didn't make this list, by the way.
You did make this part of the
You are
list.
setting the order of the list, however.
And you were the person that put Rashad Jennings on the list, right?
Yeah, but Jamie tweeted
Okay.
me something about it. So I blame Jamie.
Okay.
I tweeted you or
But,
I sent you a tweet?
You sent me a tweet about Rashad Jennings.
Right.
Yeah. Well, the story is Giants aren't going to do their stupid rotate the running backs all the time thing this year. They're going to try to feature someone, or more so than last year, certainly. And Rashad Jennings is number 1 right now. He scored 10, 14, 13, and 22 fantasy points in standard scoring leagues in his final 4 weeks with 24, 17, 16, and 29 touches. So right now he appears to be a riser. Are you guys getting more excited about Rashad Jennings?
Spoiler alert, there are 3 Giants on the risers list, which probably isn't that surprising. I am very excited about 2 of them. I added one of them to the list. Rashad Jennings was not the one, though.
I'm excited about targeting him if I only take one running back with my first 6 picks. Or maybe even first 5 picks. Because I think he does have a chance to get off to a good start this season. I don't want to draft him with the intention of leaning on him for the entire year, although it's conceivable that he can deliver 10-plus games of starts and be acceptable for fantasy in half of them, which in round 7 or round 8, when you pick him up, it's not so bad. If you want to talk about his handcuffs, all of them, whoever it'll be if he goes down, should be available on waivers. I don't think anybody's targeting Shane Vereen outside of deeper PPR. I think Paul Perkins isn't going to be as exciting on draft day as he might have been a couple months ago.
He has been in ours so
right.
far.
I think that slows down.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
And Andre Williams, there's all this great talk about how he's slimming down and looking good. He's fighting for a roster spot.
Okay.
Hate to say it because I liked him a lot coming out. Jennings has got this job, and the coaches trust him. So he's going to play a decent amount in an offense that should be actually better than it was last year.
Yeah, I think that's one difference between him and Forsett, who we've been linking together because they go around the same time as sort of the last starting, quote-unquote, starting running back to go. Jennings in a much better offense. So, Heath, which guy on the Giants are you excited about?
I actually am getting excited about Eli Manning.
Yeah, I moved him up in my rankings.
I moved him up today. I just started thinking about it. Victor Cruz is seemingly healthy, and that's not something I expected. And the fact that he's healthy and he's still probably only the number 3 wide receiver is really beneficial. And then Shepard we were really excited about before camp, but he's delivering in camp. And there's just no way to have one of the best wide receivers in all of football, to have a rookie that everyone's excited about that's performing in camp, and to have Victor Cruz coming back as your 3rd wide receiver and not think that Eli Manning's going to be good.
Don't forget about his running backs who catch a lot of passes.
Yes.
Whether it's Jennings, who is a decent pass catcher, probably doesn't get near that 30 catch mark like we're talking about
Did
earlier.
last year.
Did he get to 30? I think he was under 30.
I thought he was 33.
I can go back and double check, but it's around there. But Vereen is going to contribute there too.
He had 29 last year.
And they've got a three-way competition at tight end going right now, where if one guy gets off to a good start, great. If not, they just pull him out and they put in the next guy. And they can rotate there a little bit or use 2 tight end sets, which will help Eli Manning out. So
Yeah.
there's a lot to like about him. But I still look at all the other quarterbacks. There's a lot to like about all these guys. I think Eli shapes up as a phenomenal value.
Well, he was the
I
number
don't
8
know where you
quarterback
guys.
last
I also don't know where you guys had him before and where you moved him.
I had
to
him
now.
10th. I moved him to 9th.
Okay.
I moved him ahead of Rivers.
I had him.
Ooh, I'm not doing that. I still like Rivers better.
I moved him right behind Big Ben at 8th.
Wow.
Yeah. That's
All
where
right,
he
so
finished
8,
last
9,
year.
10. Or I've got him 11 actually. So I'm the low man on Eli.
And he has had, in 2 years under Ben McAdoo, Manning has had the most pass attempts of his career, 2 of his top 3 seasons in yards and touchdowns, and 2 of his 3 lowest interception seasons, excluding rookie year when Manning only played.
And
90.
they just there was just a report. Sorry to interrupt you, Adam, but there was just a report that they're going to try and push the pace a little more too. So they were, I think, second in terms of either number of plays or time of getting plays off, and that was behind Chip Kelly. And so if they're going to be even faster, that's more plays, more opportunities. So it's a really good offense right now, especially if the defense could be still suspect.
He has finished as a top 10 quarterback each of the last 2 years. 2014, 9 games with 20-plus fantasy points. Last year, he had also 9 with 20-plus fantasy points.
Pencil him in for 9 then.
Pencil him in for 9 and a top 10 finish. So
Yeah.
he probably shouldn't be 11th.
Pretty safe. I think he's safe, you know?
Mhm.
Hard to see the downside. There are a lot of wide receivers making some noise right now, including Sterling Shepard, but also Sammy Coates, Michael Thomas, Tyler Boyd, Devin Funchess. These are young guys, first or second year guys. Sammy Coates, Michael Thomas, Sterling Shepard, Tyler Boyd, Devin Funchess. Anybody that's really standing out to you guys?
I moved Thomas and Coates up just because when you're getting to looking at your 4th or 5th receiver, why not take a chance on a guy that could be good in a good offense?
Shepard is obviously at the head of the class.
Yeah.
I'm worried about the upside for these guys. Funchess, number 2 receiver in Carolina, an offense that definitely likes to run. I don't know what his chances are of coming up with 805. Boyd, 2nd/3rd option in Cincinnati. He's really going to have to show up and I'm saying unseat Brandon LaFell, and that doesn't sound like much. That's something that we'll laugh at, but I think the Bengals coaches look at LaFell as probably the better guy right now. I don't know how much of a shot he has at 805. You get to Michael Thomas, and everybody's really talking about how great of a camp he's having, and you think about what his role will be, and you go back and you look at Colston's previous 2 years to last year, he had over 900 yards in those 2 years. So you look at 805 for Michael Thomas, I think that's possible. I really do, especially when you look at just how they want to spread the ball around. He's going to get opportunities in that offense, just as Colston did, especially if he keeps up his hot play.
All he has to do is outplay Willie Snead
Yeah, the thing
to
I'm
get more, be on the field more.
most
But
excited.
Snead's having a good camp, too.
Yes, he is. The thing I'm most excited about Michael Thomas is because we will see, and we have already seen lots of vines and videos of players making one-handed catches. I remember John Baldwin made about 16 of them one year for the Chiefs. And that happens with all of the receivers. They're catching like 800 passes over the next 3 weeks. Some of them are going to be really great catches. But we're getting videos and vines of Thomas. Look at this route he just ran. Look at
It's
him.
not just that.
Look at him get off this jam.
Mhm.
Look at this one-handed
He's
catch.
physical.
He's doing
You see his physicality for
all
sure.
of the things.
And he's a pretty big guy, too.
Yeah. And Adam, I know that you hate Michael Thomas, but I think it's time for you to get on board.
Yeah, I don't know where that came from. I feel like I had been drafting Michael Thomas a lot. We got some tweets saying I was down on Michael Thomas. That's never been the case. I always felt like and I actually feel the same way about Tyler Boyd. In terms of the rookie wide receivers, were a little undervalued based on where I had seen all of the rookie guys going. Boyd, yeah, maybe you have to wait a little while for him to be good. Maybe you just pick him up off waivers. You don't have to draft him, but somebody's got to fill the void there. They lost Sanu and Jones, and I think we saw what Brandon LaFell can do last year. It's not very impressive. So, I feel like Boyd's going to fall into some decent production at some point.
I think Boyd's definitely of this group the deep league late round guy.
Well, sure, because
Why?
well, look at the offenses that the other two guys playing.
Well, yeah, but
Pittsburgh
this is a big group here. I mean, there was...
And we haven't really talked about Coates at all.
But I'm saying Coates has to step into, or could step into, Martavis Bryant's role without Heath Miller there, and maybe without a healthy Ladarius Green. So there could be a lot of targets going his direction. And the reports out of Pittsburgh are he's the closest thing they have to being Martavis Bryant, not Marcus Wheaton. So if he's going to start opposite Antonio Brown, hello single coverage, hello a lot of shots down the field, and Ben Roethlisberger likes to rely on his guys. So I don't see a situation where he can disappoint you where you're drafting him. Like, I would rather have him at this point than Wheaton. I moved him ahead of Wheaton.
Me too.
I don't think you want to take a chance on Wheaton when you have a chance to take a guy on the bigger play option.
Yeah.
And then you look at Thomas's situation, even if he's the fifth option, because Ingram's going to be 40-plus catches again. Kobe Fleener's going to have a monster season, or at least he should. And you look at Cooks and Snead being on the field, he's still going to get targets. Single coverage in the slot. If that's the case where he lines up, again, fifth receiver, if he stinks coming out of the gate, you cut him.
And, there's going to be opportunities no matter how teams cover New Orleans, period.
Yeah, well,
he's going to be in single coverage or eating up soft zone no matter what.
The guy that I was, I guess, referring to, I probably should have been more specific. I think I would take Tyler Boyd over Devin Funchess.
Oh, yeah, sure. Funchess, to me, is the least appealing on the five that you brought up.
But Funchess could be one of those, I'm trying to think, who is the guy? Jericho Cotry, 10 touchdown guy, just not a lot of yards. He's not going to do that. But
it also depends. Does Carolina's defense take a step back and they have to throw the ball a little bit more because Jonathan Stewart's another step slower? If that's the case, then I think Funchess will be better than Boyd.
Yep.
Maybe. So, also, Kamar Aiken having a good camp, guys?
I think we got to tweet Kamar Aiken by default.
Yes.
He's going to get so many targets.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you're great or if you're elite. If you're going to get the type of targets he's going to get this year, he's being underdrafted.
Agreed.
Well,
an excellent late round pick.
Right now, if Smith gets back for week 1 and they get anything from Perryman, then he should still be okay.
Right.
But he's not going to be as good as he could be if those guys are obviously hurt.
Yeah, he was pretty solid last year. It wasn't spectacular, but once after week 11, beginning week 11, 3 of his last 7 games with double-digit fantasy points, 1 game with 9 fantasy points for Kamar Aiken. That's in standard scoring leagues. But I know
that was Flacco, too. Keep that in mind.
Yeah, good point. I know you guys have sort of dismissed Steve Smith because of the shredded chicken Achilles, but, why are we not just dismissing Arian Foster, who right now you'd have to say is a training camp riser? They're coming back from the same injury. Smith's, I guess, was worse, but still pretty bad injury for either guy.
What's Steve Smith doing at practice?
What's Arian Foster doing in practice? Dave went in and do a damn thing.
Oh, he's practicing.
He's practicing, taking snaps with the first team.
Yeah.
But Dave, you were lamenting how uninvolved he was.
He was uninvolved, but at least he was there. Steve Smith is watching.
It's also
or riding a stationary bike.
It's also position. If Steve Smith was a running back, it'd be a little different.
Okay. Works for me. More risers, guys. Martellus Bennett. Good stuff so far?
Yes. We're hearing about how the Patriots are gravitating toward using a 2 tight end set regularly, which makes perfect sense for them because
they always do.
They don't always do it. They use it they use it just as much as they would 3 receivers or
that's bad news for
2
Hogan,
running backs. It's bad news for all their receivers.
Hogan's not looking like the guy that we thought he could be.
Well, he's banged up right now with a shoulder injury. We don't know what the receivers are like really. It looks like Edelman and Amendola are just being rested at this point. Like if they had to get on the field and practice and get ready for a game, I think they would be.
Nate Washington's going to come back again, isn't he?
No, I don't think he is. I think that's why Chris Hogan's there. One of the reasons why they got Chris Hogan, and I was listening to this on Sirius this week, they love his blocking.
And also on special teams.
And they love his special teams work. So he's going to be asked to do a number of things for them besides catch. But if he's going to be a blocker, then he'll be on the field a lot. And he's got to get back on the practice field to develop the chemistry with the quarterback. So if he can do that, he'll be okay. But he's another one of these late round guys that you take.
Just to put in context, I was very, very high on Chris Hogan earlier this offseason. I put him behind Thomas and Coates. I'd rather have those 2 guys.
I'm not there yet.
Yeah, I would.
If you were late in a draft, Jamie, I'll ask you since you're the low guy on Hogan, and you just want to flex, would you take Martellus Bennett or Chris Hogan?
Oh, it's interesting. Probably take Martellus Bennett at this point.
Yep.
I almost wonder
Because the touchdowns will favor Bennett by far.
the touchdown should favor him. Does 50 catches for Martellus Bennett, 3 a week? I still
That's
feel
not
like
very
he's.
exciting.
I know, and this is where I'm going with this. I still feel like he's a touchdown or bust tight end, which
Right,
is
but
what a lot of these guys are.
I mean, to say 805 for Chris Hogan, I think that's aggressive at this point.
Yeah. Plus, remember
think it's a
with
little
Bennett,
aggressive.
you've got the whole if Gronk gets hurt thing, then he becomes much.
Yeah, but
better.
you say same thing about Hogan if Edelman or Amendola goes down. And you see Edelman miss half a season last year.
Yeah, but we thought Brandon LaFell was going to be must-add. He certainly wasn't.
Well, I think it's a little different because we've seen Martellus Bennett be good before.
Right, we haven't really seen
every
Chris Hogan
September.
be good.
We've got a guy that we've seen be good. I've not ever seen Chris Hogan be
Right.
No, training camp.
For
Hard
all,
knocks.
for all I know, no, he's just there to map out the Buffalo Bills playbook, and then they're going to cut him.
So,
But fun.
some fallers. Jamie, I'll ask you, who's somebody that really stands out right now, I guess, other than Chris Hogan, training camp faller? Should I ask someone else?
Jenkins.
Jamie didn't put this list together either.
All right. Dave, I'll ask you, training camp
hi.
faller, who stands out to you?
I hate to say it because he's my guy, and I'm still drafting him, but just not where I was before. Kenneth Dixon in Baltimore. He got banged up. It's the second time he's been banged up since he's been drafted, not on the field, and it's just looking more and more like Justin Forsett's going to begin the year as Baltimore starter, and Dixon won't get much of a chance. And if it continues on for the next couple of weeks, then dare I say Dixon falls out of drafts, and fantasy owners will just have to keep an eye on him from waivers.
All right.
Hate to say it,
There's just so many
love
guys
him.
there. That's the problem. It's like he could be great next year. When
He could be
Forsett
great
is most
whenever
likely
he
not.
gets the opportunity, whenever it comes.
Right,
Next year, week 5.
But
who
will they
knows?
give him the opportunity over Forsett, which it doesn't appear to be, over Javorius Allen, who was a very good fill-in last year, over Terrence West, who
There's been good reports on Terrence West,
right.
too.
I think you got to look at it, Adam. You sort of alluded to it a little bit before, and it's not a sexy pick, but it's could be a guy that helps you for a couple of weeks. Is Justin Forsett, and it's funny because when you're starting to get into that round 7+ range, I don't think Forsett should go at the top of this list, but there's 4 guys 30+ age that could be very interesting for fantasy owners. Foster, who we talked about, 30 years old. Jennings, who we talked about, 31 years old. Forsett, I believe, is going to be 32, if I'm not mistaken. 32, and then D'Angelo as the handcuff, slash backup to Le'Veon Bell. And all 4 of those guys could be 3 to 4, if not more, weeks of relevant for you. And that's kind of not a bad situation when you get into those middle rounds, depending on how you build your team.
Also, Forsett, he might be old, but by running back standards, but he didn't have a lot of work before he joined the Ravens,
He and Jennings are very similar in that regard.
Yeah.
And
so
that's
that
what
helps.
matters to me.
Okay, how about the Seahawks running backs? It doesn't seem like we're getting a winner out of there, guys.
Kristen Michael.
I think everybody just made the exact same reaction,
Yeah.
whether on this show or
all the
listening at
listeners,
home.
yes.
Yeah, everybody just made the sound like they just got punched in the gut.
No, it's Sideshow Bob stepping on a rake.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
That's fine.
that's the Kristen Michael sound.
Acceptable. That's
Yeah.
the Kristen Michaels sound.
I guess if you wanted to be excited about one of them over this first week and a half, it's Alex Collins. I don't know.
Listen to that confidence.
Why not Michael?
Why, Michael?
But why not?
Because
and we've reached the end of the,
Because
I'm
the
just
Christian
saying,
Michael discussion.
It's a team that's going to run the ball. It's a guy. It's a guy
I'm
that
not
had
sure.
success last year. I mean, well, you said it yourself: 5 to 10% increase. You think
Right.
you're going to go 25% increase? I mean,
They might have to if they don't have any running backs.
they didn't have any running backs last year, and Michael wasn't bad.
Yeah.
Michael wasn't great, dude.
I'm not saying he was, but he was. Look, is Matt Jones great?
Yes, he is. No, he's not great.
Is Ryan Matthews great?
He's better than Christian Michael.
Is Jonathan Stewart? They are, obviously. But again, if you get the starting running back for the Seahawks, do we know that he can't have 16 games of top 25 potential?
I mean, there's a chance of mild success, sure. I don't know if he's going to go out there and be amazing, and I don't know he's going to go out there and get every single opportunity either.
Sure.
I mean, there's, again, another backfield with a lot of mouths to feed.
Well, not when they're all standing on the sideline. When Procise has a bad hamstring and Thomas Rawls has a broken ankle.
There's still 2 other rookies there. It's not like Michael's going to dominate. If those guys play well enough, they're going to see the field. And if Michael doesn't finally morph into the guy that everybody thought he was going to be when he came out of college
6 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like everybody kind of knows what he is. And right now he's a placeholder. Are you drafting Christian Michael?
As we get closer to the season, if Rawls and Procise are still banged up and Alex Collins is not exactly blowing the doors off things, absolutely. You take the starter for that team? Sure.
Yeah. I mean, that makes
sure,
sense.
I see that. But right now you're not.
But listen, he had 3 games in his last 4, including the playoffs, Kristen Michael, with 16 or more carries. And
how did he do?
He had 16 for 84 against Cleveland, 5.3 yards per carry. 17 for 102 yards at Arizona, 6 yards per carry. And then a bad game at Minnesota, 21 carries for 70 yards and 1 catch for 14 yards. But you're talking 8 fantasy points or more in all 3 of those games based on total yards. He also averaged 6 yards per carry earlier in the season against New England when he had 1 carry for 6 yards. We always forget about that game. But anybody getting 16 carries for the Seahawks is interesting. Right. I shouldn't have stepped on the rake. I apologize.
Well, I think that was a 3-way. There were 3 rakes that were stepped on. So you don't have to apologize.
No, I keep forgetting how productive he was in weeks, I think it was 15 and 17, without scoring a touchdown, but still was good for Seattle. And then in the playoffs was okay.
The thing is, it's like when you're looking, again, not now, 2-3 weeks from now, if this doesn't change.
Yeah.
Look, we could talk about... we could talk about Josh Ferguson is going to be awesome. Wow. Tim Hightower was very good last year, but you're counting on an injury. James Starks, wow, this guy fumbles all over the place, but he's going to be a starter in the same. They're all the same. You're just getting a guy that's got a good opportunity. Chris Johnson, he's 105 years old, but he's going to be a starter for the Cardinals. So let's draft him late. Why is Kristen Michael different?
Now, I think you've made a very compelling point.
Yes. If I just hadn't gotten to the point where I think Kristen Michael is going to be the starter.
And hopefully he's not.
Right.
Hopefully he's not. But when you're talking about Ferguson and Sean Drone and guys that just stink in some cases, some bad teams, take this who could maybe be the week 1 starter for the Seahawks.
Yeah.
Against the Dolphins. At home. That's nice.
Cool. Okay, let's see. Matt Forte, we talked about yesterday. He's been a training camp faller. What's going on with the Eagles running backs?
They're banged up. It's almost the same thing as Seattle. Ryan Matthews hasn't practiced yet in training camp. He's dealing with an ankle injury. They say it's not serious, but we don't know if this is just them resting him and protecting him or what. But you know his track record, and you know that he's injury prone. And then Wendell Smallwood, their rookie running back, had a quad injury on Tuesday. And so now he's sitting out. So the guy, another old guy, in a running back, Darren Sproles.
They have an undrafted rookie that's
Byron Marshall.
Some snaps, and Kenyon Barner's a guy that's been around similar to Kristen Michael. It's had some name value, but hasn't ever done much. Could Ryan Matthews be this year's Darren McFadden? Who was
of course he could
on
be.
the PUP list last year, series of injuries throughout his career, finally got in a situation that was good for him, and had a decent season.
It's just is that situation nearly.
I mean,
as good?
theoretically, it's possible.
I'm not sure if this. I don't.
It's not the same situation.
Yeah, I have a bad read on the Eagles' offense right now.
Ooh, we have an email
How
about
so?
that. Save it for the email.
We'll just say
okay.
that.
Let's go to Austin Safarian Jenkins, Heath. You're not happy with what's going on with ASF.
I might be
ASJ.
Maybe I'm the last person jumping off the Austin Safarian Jenkins is actually really good train, but I've gotten past the point of thinking that Dirk Cutter's just trying to motivate him. Because if he's been trying to motivate him for too long. They say Cameron Brate is making plays. Cameron Brate is doing a much better job blocking. I think there's no reason right now to believe anything other than Cameron Brate is going to start the season as the starter.
But is he more talented than Safarian Jenkins?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I don't think so, but they like him more.
They do. I mean, the obvious answer is you don't draft either one.
Right. Yeah, we're talking about, tight end 2 territory for whoever is the starter at tight end in Tampa Bay, and a guy who, honestly, a 40,705 line would be great for them. And I don't even know if we could count on that.
Well, I mean,
it might be more like 4,600.
To be fair, Jameis Winston threw 22 touchdowns last year. 6 of them went to his tight end. You talked about this when he was drafted. Nick O'Leary, the relationship they had at Florida State, that was a go-to option for him. He is a guy, and this offense is a offense that relies on tight end. It could be great, but if there's too many guys, it's going to be unfortunate.
Could be
Safarian
great.
Jenkins is their best tight end. He just has to prove
He's
it.
their best pass catching tight end.
Yes.
Man, you just missed. I just made such a great pun, and you totally didn't hear it. What a shame.
Well, I'm sure
Say
it's
it
going to
again.
be really good the second time.
Jamie said, it could be great. And I said, it could be great. So, news and notes. Baltimore waived Trent Richardson and Buffalo.
What? Baltimore waived Trent Richardson.
They did.
Oh, no.
They did say, though, that they can still bring him back
They could.
because they needed receiver depth. Shocking.
And I could dye my hair blonde.
Oh, so wait. So if he comes back to the Ravens, you have to dye your hair blonde?
Yes.
Is that where we're going?
Yeah, I said I could.
Ah!
That'd be tremendous.
Listen, if they incur more injuries, of course they'll bring him
Blonde
back.
Dave Richard. Here we go.
Oh, my God.
Buffalo
I barely have
not
any hair to
releasing
begin with, and now you're going to dye it blonde.
Carlos Williams. Buffalo not releasing Carlos Williams.
All right, I have a report here.
Uh-huh.
I reached out to Cowboys beat writer Todd Arthur for ESPN, and I asked him, I said, how would you assess Ezekiel Elliott as a pass catcher and pass protection? And Todd's answer is, he's going to be a 3-down guy. I don't know if he'll be as much as Murray 2 years ago, but the Cowboys like everything about him as a pass catcher. Needs work on protection, obviously, but he'll learn it. There's your answer on Ezekiel Elliott.
That's a pretty good answer.
That makes me feel better about him as a pass catcher. It doesn't really quell any concerns about a pass blocker. He'll learn it. It seems like, I mean, hopefully.
It's easy to learn, though, when there's nobody coming near you because the 5 guys in front of you have just completely obliterated everybody.
6 of you count Witten.
That's true.
San Diego signed James Jones. And defensively, we got Arizona giving Tyrann Mathieu a 5-year contract extension. I know you guys, Dave in particular, you're over the moon for the Diamondbacks, for the Cardinals defense. They don't really seem to have a pass rush. You know, Dwight Freeney getting signed by Atlanta. I think he led the team in sacks last year for Arizona.
Yeah.
They made it kind of a trade this
Oh, they
offseason.
Chandler Jones.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Chandler Jones is that guy.
He's kind of good.
They've
But I
got
don't
some
think they had
other-
a great pass rush last year. I'm not sure Chandler Jones just fixes that.
Well, Chandler
The
Jones
double-digit sack guys typically
and
do.
what's the kid from Mississippi or Mississippi State?
Kim Dichie?
Yeah.
Ole Miss.
Ole Miss.
Yeah.
He's pretty good, too.
He's pretty...
He's a little banged up, though.
Never played a snap.
Neither has Ezekiel Elliott. It's not stopping you from drafting him.
That's completely different. Don't say that.
How are they different?
All right, so not concerned. Cincinnati rookie cornerback William Jackson III tore his pectoral muscle, and Senquez Golson has a Liz Frank injury. He's a Steelers cornerback who missed all of 2015 with a torn labrum.
And the Cowboys are about to sign Nick Foles to replace Kellen Moore.
Oh.
That's me saying
Cool.
that, not Todd.
But it would make perfect sense. And so the question is, how do you feel about those guys in Dallas, Ezekiel Elliott and Des Bryant? And, those are them. If Nick Foles is the quarterback.
Better than if it's Kellen Moore.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
And definitely better than what they had last year.
Emails, guys. Emails at fantasyfootball@cbsi.com. Appreciate all the emails that we've gotten. Stay tuned. Probably next week, making an announcement about the podcast league. And you'll send your emails to get into that. Here is Charles coming to you from a town in the North Carolina Outer Banks.
All right.
Man, I just went there. Oh, Rodanthe.
Okay, sure.
There you go.
The book Nights in Rodanthe?
Yeah. I like
It's in
books.
Is it a town or a book?
That's in the Outer Banks. I stayed there.
In a book?
Yeah, it was awesome.
Dear Mr. Blake, Mr. Garrard, and Mr. Carden, they are all quarterbacks from the same university.
ECU.
Good job. Yeah. When do you think this season's Binado will be?
Oh, Adam. Binado and Binado 2 come in weeks 8 and 9 of the NFL season, when each week will feature 6 teams on bye.
It's definitely week 9 because that's the Arizona and all my receivers play for the Cardinals.
Arizona, Chicago, Cincinnati, Houston, New England, and Washington are all in week 9. It's a lot of fantasy sets compared to week 8, which is Baltimore, the Rams, the Dolphins,
Week
the
9 is the
Giants,
Cardinals?
Yeah.
Steelers,
Wow.
and 49ers.
That's the week Larry Fitzgerald gets cut. from every
Larry
fantasy league.
Fitzgerald gets cut from fantasy teams, not fantasy, not from the Cardinals.
Wow. Week 9 Binado. I love it. All right, next email is from Travis. And where's Travis from?
Outer Banks, North Carolina.
Travis says, "Dear Devontae, and Devontae, all spelled differently. Very good.
Wow.
I'm going to be drafting in a 14-team PPR league this year. First time being in a league that big, 14 teams. I like to go with 3 or 4 wide receivers off the bat in most PPR leagues, but in this 14-teamer, do you have any advice?"
It helps that it's PPR. The talent pools will be a little bit deeper at running back and receiver. I've played in a league like this for a long time. I think it's important to aim for those receivers, but not to necessarily give up on a good running back value or tight end value.
Can I just say something,
when
Dave?
available in the draft.
You just said that you've played in a league like this for a long time, and I'm sure you're talking about one of your personal leagues, 14 teams PPR. You also play in one every year. It's called the Podcast League, and I'm disappointed that didn't even cross your mind.
I didn't even realize that the podcast league was 14-team PPR.
Yeah, it sure is. I gathered that, Dave.
I'm in a podcast league?
Yep.
You know, last year I shared the team.
Oh,
we
that's
did
a
well.
good idea. Do that again.
Of course I'm doing that again.
Yeah, that was a good
I get
idea.
to pick the guy I share it with.
All right, so I've never gone in that PPR, 14-team PPR podcast league. I don't think I've ever, but I'm pretty sure, never gone with 3 receivers with my first 3 picks. Could you guys see doing that?
What if you got the same guys you got in the 10-team league?
Well, then I would do that, but that's not going to happen.
Okay, so you went with Hopkins and Jeffrey, right? Your
Hopkins,
first 2 picks?
Jeffrey, Cooks. There's no way that's happening.
Okay, Hopkins and Jeffrey's realistic, though.
Yeah, I could do 2. I could definitely do 2.
Okay, but
I might say it's more like Hopkins and T.Y. Hilton.
Yeah, but you don't know in whatever format that it could be wide receiver heavy or running back run.
Right.
Somebody takes quarterbacks because that happens.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just say it's okay. Hopkins and Cooks.
Yeah, Hopkins and Cooks, very realistic.
Okay, Hopkins, Cooks. Watkins is sitting there in the 3rd round, and C.J. Anderson. Who are you taking?
Woo! Oh man,
Somebody
I would
cut
probably
one?
take.
What kind of a noise was that?
You've got to take C.J. Anderson.
Cut one.
I got to take CJ.
I just
Woo,
it's the rule. Well, Adam might.
Oh,
But if it were you, Heath, or you, Jamie, or me, Dave, I think it's totally fine to go Watkins there.
That's the thing. Is like if there's a 3rd receiver saying that you like after going receiver, don't go away from it.
yeah, but it's a 14-team league. You have to realize how bad you might be at running back if you don't take.
But then
Anderson
you just
there.
your next 3 picks, 4 picks, all running backs.
Yeah. That's
You're
when
gonna
you
draft
decide.
a lot of running backs anyway.
If you take 3 receivers with your first 3 picks, I think in a 14-team league, you should definitely think, I'm not taking a quarterback until really late.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the position to wait on. The tight end, you're probably going to be a little bit of trouble.
But what if your 4th round pick, Cam and Aaron Rodgers, are still there because nobody's taking quarterbacks?
I don't think I'd do it. Not in a 10-team league, absolutely. In a 14-team league, I think I'd have to cover my bases a little bit and get a running back.
See, I might say the exact opposite. In a
Just punt
10-team league, it's easier to punt on a quarterback. In a 14-team league where somebody is going to start Tyrod Taylor as their
You can always get
guy.
Matt Ryan because everybody hates him.
Yeah, or Derek Carr will be there, somebody like that.
No,
punt on
but Dave,
Jameis.
we always talk about best player
Good.
available in 10-team leagues.
And it's also a 14-team league where round 4 is more like round 5 in a normal draft.
I know, but I said you got to take running backs at some point. Like in a 14-team league, quarterback is the deepest position.
You can still find running backs who can catch some
You're going to
passes
have
later
Rashad
on.
Jennings as your running back 1 anyway. So
I don't want that.
Okay, so you end up with Duke Johnson and Rashad Jennings with those 3 receivers. Are you happy?
In PPR, you're great.
Oh,
I agree.
okay.
Plus, you've got depth behind them.
If
Because
everything
theoretically, you're
works
not
out, then yeah, you're great. But we know how unrealistic that is with running backs. So,
Right, but again, you take Duke, you take Rashad Jennings. You know, in about 4 or 5 rounds, you have the opportunity to maybe back them up with Perkins or Crowell, lock up those backfields, or Vereen, and you just start again. Then it's Tevin Coleman, and it's maybe CJ Procise. Maybe it's you just start throwing stuff against the wall.
No, okay, fine. This is a good discussion because I'll tell you why. I think you're really hurt on your bye weeks if you don't have depth on your bench because this is a league in theory where there's just very little on waivers, and you're really hurt if there's an injury. And I think in a 14-team league, you kind of have to draft for depth a little bit and not just for your starting lineup.
Plus, I heard somewhere that in 2013, 18 wide receivers were in the top 30 in scoring.
Yeah.
And then 2014, it was 17 wide receivers in the top 30. And then in 2015, 19 receivers were in the top 30.
And 11 of the first 12.
And I mean, if your third receiver is Sammy Watkins, then theoretically you're trying to get 3 of the top 30 players overall in your league.
You might be getting 3 of the top 15.
That's kind of good, isn't it?
Yes, but if I did that, if I took Watkins as my third receiver in round 3 in a 14-team PPR league, I really don't think I'm taking Cam Newton or Aaron Rodgers with my next pick.
Oh, I would agree, but most likely those guys aren't going to be there. I mean, I know Heath is just trying to tempt you a little bit, which is fine, and it in theory could happen. But
Luck might be there.
Luck might be there, yes.
Wilson, I don't think I want the 6th quarterback that early.
Oh, Wilson might be there.
I think the thing you got to understand is you got to take some chances and leave some potential talent on the draft board just because you have to, like you said, Adam, sort of spread yourself out a little bit more. But it's just a matter of, again, if you want 3, like Dave said, based on your stats, if you want to have 3 of the top 30 players and then get the best quarterback, which Cam, Rodgers, whoever your top 4 or 5 guy may be, it's not bad. And then again, you just keep going running back.
Okay, next email is from Trevor from
Mount Juliet, Tennessee.
Keeper question in a 12-team PPR league. It is a 15-round draft, and you keep this player at this round value for 2 years. So he's already got Jordan Matthews. He has to keep him. This is his second year keeping Matthews, 15th round pick. So keep one of the following. It's PPR. Doug Martin in the 6th, Devontae Freeman in the 6th, Eifert in the 9th, Cam in the 10th, Aiken in the 15th, Rawls in the 15th, and Jordan Reed in the 15th. Who's it going to be?
Just one?
Mm-hmm.
If Rawls was healthy, I would say Rawls.
Why does he have to keep Jordan Matthews?
Because I think you lock into keeping a guy for 2 years, and he thought the value was great last year.
Right. Okay.
Cam Newton in the 10th, Devontae Freeman in the 6th, Rawls in the 15th.
I'd probably just keep Martin.
The nice thing about keeping Cam is you have a top 3-ish quarterback for 2 years.
At the 10th round price tag, which is unbeatable. To me, unless Thomas Rawls makes a startling recovery, it's a no-brainer that Cam's your pick, and then you're not drafting a quarterback for the next 2 years.
So let's just say Rawls is off the pup list this week, plays a couple downs in the first preseason game, and everything's fine from that point forward. Does it change your mind?
I think it's still a difficult decision to make, to be honest with you.
You just go the safety route of
Cam. I feel like in this situation, the safe route is the better way to go, especially since there are so many other running backs. If let's just say Rawls gets healthy, and then 4 weeks into the year, he either underwhelms or
it makes
gets
sense.
Banged up, somebody else could come in. CJ Prosise turns
Christian
out to be a lot better.
Christian Michael, that's right.
Well, I mean, let's not get crazy here. I think Cam is definitely the safer way to go.
Or do you go for the high upside play and get the guy who challenged Gronkowski to be the best tight end last year for 2 years?
I don't know if I trust Jordan Reed to be that guy.
Yeah.
I know he had a great year. I'm not sure he can do it again.
Cam is the safe pick. So it's probably the easiest decision you have to make.
John from a town in Australia. This will be our last email. I was hoping you could discuss the Philadelphia Eagles, as that is a team I feel like I don't know anything about. Last year, everyone was raving about them, and this year, nothing. Is Sam Bradford good? Who's the best wide receiver? Who's the second best wide receiver? Etc. The Philadelphia Eagles, guys, in 1 minute. Go.
Don't draft them.
I don't know, man. You still had Jordan Matthews was a top 20 receiver. Ryan Matthews had a good year last year. Don't draft them?
I said earlier, this is a team I feel very much like John from a town in Australia.
Down under?
You don't know much about?
I think with the Eagles, the way that I approach them is if they fall to me in the right spot, and by the guys I mean it's Ryan Matthews, it's Jordan Matthews, and Zach Ertz. If they fall to me in spots where I don't feel like I'm reaching for them, I'm perfectly okay with it because Ryan Matthews I think will get 8 games of good production. I think Jordan Matthews can be a serviceable bye week or potential flex option for you as the 3rd or 4th receiver. And Zach Ertz I still think is going to be heavily involved in this offense, and he's still a top 10-ish tight end. So I'm not shying away from them, but I'm not reaching for them in any particular shot.
I was just looking up average draft position. Jordan Matthews is going as the 29th wide receiver.
Nothing wrong with that.
In the middle of the 6th round. That seems like pretty good value to me.
Mm-hmm.
Ryan Matthews is not going to be accurate because most of these drafts probably took place before he got banged up, but as the 22nd in the middle of the 5th round.
He's not going to fall much farther than that if he gets back in time.
I mean, the guys that are going after him, Jeremy Langford, Matt Jones, Melvin Gordon, Jay Ajayi.
Right. Maybe Matt Jones you can make a case for, but otherwise that's it.
Hate their quarterback situation. Hate their schedule.
Don't really like their head coach.
I see. I'm not ready to go there yet, but I feel like the
Jaded Chiefs fan.
but I feel like they're going to be an Andy Reid-ish type of team. And the only guy that I think I could see myself drafting is Ertz, just because he plays at a thin position, and I think he'll get a lot of targets, like we said.
But again, to go back to Ryan Matthews, the thing that's nice about him, there's not a lot of competition.
Except his own health.
True.
Yeah. Well, Heath, have a great frickin' time on that cruise. I've been on like 8 cruises. I think you're going to have a good time.
Thank you. I was just, before we got on the podcast, asking Dave and Jamie because I'm going to be pretty much without connection to the outside world. What is the crazy thing that's going to happen in the NFL in the 4 days I'm gone?
There's going to be an ACL. You know that.
Sorry, Michael.
You will get some, I believe, CNN. You should get some, at least the cruises I've been on.
Oh, yeah. No, you're not going to be that unconnected.
Yeah,
to the
you're not
outside
going to be that
world.
unconnected.
Yeah.
I actually was on a cruise when LeBron decided to come to the Heat.
Yeah.
And the cruise left out of Miami. They aired it.
Cool.
They aired the decision.
I'll tell you, the Royals are probably going to win like 1 game while you're gone. That'll be the big news here. So
You missed the
ready for
MLB trade line.
Are we going to talk baseball on the football podcast?
No, we're not. We're going to end the show. Thanks for listening, everybody. Quarterback preview tomorrow. It begins. And then mailbag on Friday. See you later.
This was Fantasy Football Today.
Bye.